Machiavelli died alone, exiled from the city he served, abandoned by the men he called friends. In his final years, writing from a crumbling estate, he understood something most people never will. Your friends will betray you, not might, will, not because they're evil, because they're human, and humans operate on incentives, not loyalty. He watched it happen to Caesar, to Brutus, to every man who confused proximity with protection. The closer someone gets, the more dangerous they become, because they know things, where you're weak, what you want, what you're afraid of. And one day, when their interests conflict with yours, they'll use it, not dramatically, quietly, over coffee, with a smile. This isn't about paranoia. It's about pattern recognition. And the pattern is clear. Information is ammunition. Every secret you share is a bullet you hand to someone else. Today, we're going to examine 7 types of information you should never reveal. Not to your best friend, not to your brother, not to anyone, because power doesn't come from trust. It comes from control, and control begins with silence. Let's begin. Your next move. Never announce what you're about to do. This seems simple. Almost everyone ignores it. They tell people about the business they're starting, the job they're applying for, the relationship they're ending, and they wonder why resistance appears, why their friend suddenly has concerns, why obstacles multiply. Machiavelli observed that men judge by results, not intentions, so why give them time to interfere before there's a result to judge? When you announce a plan, 3 things happen. First, you invite sabotage disguised as advice. Are you sure that's a good idea? The market's really tough right now. Maybe you should wait. These aren't warnings, they're anchors, designed to keep you stationary while they stay comfortable. Your movement threatens the equilibrium, and people will protect equilibrium over your success every time. Second, you create competition where none existed. The moment you mention you're going for something, someone else starts going for it too. Not because they wanted it before, because you wanting it makes it valuable. Humans are mimetic creatures. We want what others want. Your ambition becomes their ambition, and now you're racing someone who only entered because you announced the race. Third, and this is the part nobody talks about, you drain the energy from your own goal. Psychologists call it social reality. When you tell someone about a goal, your brain registers it as partial completion. You get a hit of satisfaction, the same neurochemical reward you'd get from actually doing the work. So the urgency decreases, the drive weakens, and the plan dies in conversation instead of being born in action. Machiavelli understood this instinctively. He never announced, he moved, and when the thing was done, when the outcome was irreversible, only then did others find out. By that point, objection is irrelevant. The territory is taken. This is how power operates, in silence, in shadow. You build while others talk about building, and when they finally notice, you're already 3 moves ahead. Your next move is not a conversation topic. It's a secret you keep until it becomes history. Your good deeds. Never tell people what you've done for them, or for anyone else. The second you mention your generosity, it becomes a transaction. And transactions breed resentment, not gratitude. Machiavelli wrote that benefits should be given slowly so they're fully tasted. But he also knew something darker. People hate being indebted. The psychological weight of owing someone is unbearable. So they do something predictable. They rewrite the narrative. It wasn't that big of a deal. I would have figured it out anyway. They probably had ulterior motives. The person you help becomes your critic, because your generosity is a mirror, and they don't like what they see reflected, their own inability, their own dependence, their own moment of weakness. So they minimize your role to preserve their self-image. This is human nature, not malice, self-protection. When you remind someone of what you did for them, you're forcing them to confront that debt, and confrontation triggers defense mechanisms. They'll find reasons why you didn't really help, why they didn't really need it, why you're actually the problem. There's another layer here. When you broadcast your generosity, you signal that you're keeping score. And people don't trust scorekeepers. They know that one day you'll call in the favor, that your kindness came with terms and conditions. So they distance themselves preemptively. Better to avoid you than owe you. The most dangerous form of this is public generosity. The person who announces every donation, every favor, every act of kindness, they think they're building reputation, they're building resentment, because public generosity isn't about the recipient, it's about the giver's image, and everyone knows it. Machiavelli would tell you this: help people in silence, or don't help them at all. But never, ever remind them of what you did. The moment you do, you transform an asset into a liability, an ally into an adversary. Real power moves in the dark. It doesn't need recognition. It doesn't need credit. It just moves. And the person who was helped never quite knows how much they owe. Which means they can never resent the debt because they're not sure it exists. That's the game. Your family problems. Never tell outsiders about dysfunction inside your walls. Not your friends, not your colleagues, not anyone who isn't bleeding the same blood. When you expose your family's chaos, you hand people a weapon, and they will use it. Maybe not today, maybe not intentionally, but it will surface in an argument, in a moment of competition, when they need leverage. Machiavelli understood the concept of the fortress. Strong walls, controlled access. What happens inside stays inside. Not because everything inside is perfect, because the outside world doesn't need to know where the cracks are. When you tell someone about your father's drinking problem, your mother's affair, your brother's failures, you think you're being vulnerable. You think you're building intimacy. You're not. You're creating asymmetry. They know your weak points. You've just told them. And asymmetry is the foundation of manipulation. There's a social dimension too. People judge you by your associations. Your family is your primary association. When you reveal that your family is broken, people unconsciously downgrade their assessment of you, not fairly, not consciously, but they do it. His father was a drunk, makes sense he has issues. Her mother cheated, explains why she has trust problems. They reduce you to your origin story, and origin stories involving chaos are never interpreted as overcoming. They're interpreted as contamination. You carry the stain. Here's what Machiavelli would say. Your family is your unit. Dysfunctional or not, broken or not. You defend the unit. You protect its image. You handle internal problems internally. Because the moment you externalize them, you lose control of the narrative. And narrative is everything. The world doesn't need to know that your family is a war zone. It needs to see a fortress, impenetrable, unified. Even if inside those walls it's chaos, especially if it's chaos. Because chaos is weakness, and weakness is blood in the water. Keep the gates closed. Your financial reality. Never tell people what you earn, what you're worth, what you own. Money is the most dangerous topic you can speak honestly about, because money changes everything. Tell someone you're struggling, they see opportunity. Tell someone you're thriving, they see target. Either way, you lose. Machiavelli watched how princes handled wealth. The smart ones never revealed their reserves, not to their allies, not to their enemies, not to anyone. Because the moment you quantify your resources, people start calculating how they can access it, how they compare, how they can take it. If you reveal financial struggle, your value drops immediately. People unconsciously distance themselves from the sinking ship. They become less available, less supportive, less invested in your success, not because they're cruel, because association with failure feels like contamination. They protect themselves by creating space. On the other side, reveal financial success and watch what happens. Your friend who never asked for anything suddenly has an emergency. Your family member who was distant suddenly wants to reconnect. People start treating you differently, not better, differently. They calculate before they speak. They measure their requests. They resent you for having what they don't. Even if they smile while saying congratulations, there's a deeper mechanism at play. Money reveals power, and people don't like knowing you have more power than them. It creates discomfort, imbalance. The relationship was equal before. Now it's not. And inequality breeds contempt. They'll find ways to diminish what you've built. Must be nice. Probably just got lucky. Money doesn't buy happiness. These aren't observations. They're cope mechanisms. Ways to reduce the psychological discomfort of your advantage. Machiavelli would tell you this: your financial reality is classified information. Let people guess. Let them wonder, but never confirm. When someone asks what you make, redirect. Enough to get by. Comfortable, vague, non-specific. Because specificity is vulnerability. The moment they know your number, they've quantified your worth. And quantification leads to judgment, to comparison, to strategy. Keep them in the dark. It's safer there. Your doubts. Never show people where you're uncertain. Not your friends, not your team, not anyone you need to respect you. Because respect and doubt cannot coexist. The moment you reveal hesitation, you invite questioning of your decisions, your authority, your right to lead. Machiavelli wrote that it's better to be feared than loved, but he also understood something more subtle. It's better to appear certain than to be correct, because people follow certainty. Even if it's wrong, they don't follow accuracy, they follow conviction. When you express doubt, you think you're being honest, authentic, human. You're not. You're transferring your anxiety to them. And they don't want it. They want someone who knows the way. Even if that person is just pretending, there's a reason for this. Doubt is contagious. When a leader wavers, the entire structure destabilizes. People start second-guessing, creating backup plans, looking for other options, not because you were wrong, because you were uncertain. And uncertainty feels like danger. Your friend who sees you doubting yourself doesn't think how brave. They think how weak, and they recalibrate their assessment of you, consciously or not. You drop in the hierarchy, from someone who knows to someone who's figuring it out. And nobody follows someone who's figuring it out. Here's the manipulation angle. When you reveal doubt, you give people a handle, a way to steer you. They'll offer advice, suggestions, help, but help is just control, wearing a friendly mask. Now they're influencing your decision. Now they have input. Now you're not leading. You're being led, and you did it to yourself by opening the door. Machiavelli would say this: doubt privately, decide privately, present publicly only after the decision is made. Let them see the conclusion, not the calculation. Let them see the move, not the hesitation. Because the world rewards those who appear to know, not those who admit they don't. You can be uncertain. You probably should be. Most complex decisions involve uncertainty, but that uncertainty is your burden, not theirs. Carry it alone, and show them only strength, your methods. Never explain how you do what you do, not fully, not honestly. The moment you reveal your process, you lose your advantage. Machiavelli understood this about power. It requires mystique. The magician who explains the trick is no longer a magician. He's just a person with props. When people ask how you achieve something, they're not asking out admiration. They're asking for the blueprint so they can replicate it, or better yet, so they can find the flaw. Every method has weaknesses. Every system has vulnerabilities. When you explain yours, you're highlighting exactly where to strike. You think you're being generous, sharing knowledge, building community. You're not. You're arming future competitors with your own strategy. There's another dynamic here. When you explain your success, you diminish it. Oh, you just did X and Y. That's simpler than I thought. The mystery dies. The respect fades. What seemed like genius now seems like process, and process can be copied. Genius cannot. Keep them thinking it's genius, even if it's just disciplined execution of a simple system, especially if it's that. Machiavelli watched princes who shared their military strategies. They believed transparency would build trust. It built defeat, because their enemies now knew exactly how they operated, where they were strong, where they were vulnerable. Sun Tzu said the same thing centuries earlier. All warfare is based on deception, and business is warfare. Relationships are warfare. Social dynamics are warfare. Polite, subtle, but warfare nonetheless. When someone asks, how did you do that? Give them the public version, the sanitized, the incomplete. Hard work, right timing, got lucky. Let them believe whatever they want. Just don't give them the actual map, because a map is power, and power shared is power lost. Your methods are proprietary. Guard them like state secrets, because that's exactly what they are. Your disloyalty. Never tell someone you've betrayed someone else, even if you think it proves you're on their side. It doesn't. It proves you're capable of betrayal. And if you did it to someone else, you'll do it to them. Machiavelli wrote extensively about this. Traitors are useful once, then they become liabilities, because a person who betrays their principles for you will betray you for the next person. Loyalty isn't a switch. It's a character trait. When you tell your new friend how you backstabbed your old friend, you think you're building trust. Look, I chose you over them. You're not building trust. You're building doubt. Now they know what you're capable of. Now they know you keep score. Now they know that friendship is conditional, and conditions can change. There's a psychological principle here. People judge you not by what you do for them, but by what you do to others. If you're cruel to a waiter, they assume you'll eventually be cruel to them. If you betray a friend, they assume they're next in line. It's pattern recognition, and the pattern is clear. You're disloyal. Maybe you had good reasons. Maybe the other person deserved it. Doesn't matter. You're still the person who turned, and turners turn. Machiavelli knew this from experience. He watched princes hire traitors, use them, then execute them, not as punishment, as prevention, because a traitor's value expires the moment the betrayal is complete. After that, they're just a risk. Here's the play. If you have to betray someone, do it silently, completely, with no explanation. And never, ever tell the new person what you did to the old person. Let them assume you're loyal. Let them believe you'd never do to them what you did to the last one. Even though you would. Even though you will. When the incentives align. Because that's what loyalty actually is. Not a virtue. A calculation. And calculations change with circumstances. Keep that to yourself. Machiavelli spent his final years writing. Not for the princes who exiled him. For you. For anyone willing to see how the game actually works, beneath the pleasantries, beneath the smiles, beneath the word friend, he understood that closeness is not safety, it's exposure. Every person you let in is a person who can destroy you, not will, can, and can is enough to demand caution. The 7 things we've covered today aren't rules of paranoia, they're principles of power. Your next move, your generosity, your family chaos, your financial reality, your doubts, your methods, your disloyalty. Each one is a thread, and if you hand someone enough threads, they'll weave a noose, not out of malice, out of opportunity. This is the part most people can't accept. Your friends aren't plotting against you. They're just humans, and humans are strategic. They take advantage when it benefits them. They share your secrets when it serves them. They use what you told them in confidence when the situation demands it, not because they're evil, because they're rational, and rationality is amoral. Machiavelli's gift to you is this: stop expecting people to be noble. They're not. Stop expecting loyalty to override self-interest. It won't. Stop believing that closeness means protection. It means the opposite. The person closest to the king is always the one who holds the knife. History proves this over and over. So what do? You speak less, you reveal less, you trust less, not because you hate people, because you understand them. And understanding is the foundation of power. The strong don't share everything. They share strategically what advances them, what protects them, what positions them 3 moves ahead. Everything else dies in silence. That's the game Machiavelli played and lost. But he wrote down the rules before he died, so you don't have to lose the same way. Use them.